Be strong.
After some time, Shin sits down, and there is a yellow screen in front of her. Kim kneels down and tells her that he doesn't have a stigma, and he can't lend her any powers like the constellations can, but he does have a lot of coins. Kim tells her that she doesn't have to sign the support contract. If she doesn't want to buy, if she does, and then she will not regret it. Shin asks if she signs this, would she not be able to sign with any other constellations? Kim nods his head and tells her not to worry, he won't meddle in her affairs like the other constellations. Shin says that she will do it because she has decided to trust him anyway. Kim is surprised to hear that. The system notifies Kim that the support contract has been agreed upon, and he has become the supporter of the incarnation Shin. The system notifies Kim that he is not a constellation, so he can't use most of the powers that are available to other supporting constellations. Kim puts his hand on Shin's head and says that he expected that much. This must be it for now. The system displays that the available powers support incarnation and encourage incarnation. The system notifies that the constellation prisoner of the golden headband smirked, and the secretive plotter congratulated Kim on his first support contract. Many constellations wanted to become his supporting constellations, and Kim was gifted 5,000 coins. Kim looks at the screen and thinks that he is an incarnation that has another incarnation, even though he is not a constellation yet. He thinks that if he signs a contract with a constellation, then that constellation will also have Shin under their influence. Kim thinks that the more incarnations he brings under his support, the more constellations that want to support him will rise. Bi-hyung looks at the screen, and he's excited that his channel is bursting with viewers. Kim comes out of the building and says that it is time to cross the river Han. Sangha asks if that would be okay because they haven't found a bridge yet. Kim says that they will swim across the river. There are numerous monsters in the river. Kim jumps into the river with Sangha and Shin. Shin is holding a boulder, and Kim is holding the rope tied to a boulder in his hand. Sangha wonders if he is sure that they are going to be alright. Kim says that they will get out as soon as it becomes dangerous. Kim tells Sangha to act as if they are in danger before the real danger strikes. Sangha is surprised to hear that. Kim thinks that way Shin will be able to unleash her innate powers much faster, so he tells Sangha to make it look like they are in a dangerous situation. Kim thinks that there's no way a regular girl can survive until the 5th scenario. She may look like a naive girl, but her character isn't that simple. From the moment they first met, she probably already scrutinized all of her options. Kim tells Shin not to run because if she runs now, she'll never be able to go back. He tells her to do whatever she can. Shin says okay and closes her eyes. The system notifies that Shin has activated Advanced Interspecies Communications Level 3. Sangha shouts at Kim because a monster is about to bite him. Kim grabs his sword, and the system notifies him that the Blade of Faith has been activated. Kim cuts the monster and jumps on it. Shin is about to fall into the river, but Sangha catches her using her rope. Kim thinks that this wouldn't be a problem if he used the Way of the Wind, but that won't make things dramatic enough. Kim calls the monsters towards him, and they start attacking Kim, and Shin shouts at him. Kim says that is good. She should be more anxious, more eager, and more desperate. A monster bites Kim's leg, and Kim is hurt by it. Shin starts remembering the moments she spent with Kim and shouts no. The system notifies that Shin's attribute is nearing evolution, and she has entered a trance. Shin's eyes are shining bright as she starts hovering in the air. She is releasing a large amount of energy, and the system notifies that Shin has activated the skill taming level 7. All the monsters in the river start looking at Shin. There's a large hand behind her. Kim thinks that she is the ruler of all monsters, the Beast Lord. Shin looks angry as she starts bleeding from her nose. After some time, Sangha and Kim ride on a monster. Kim thinks that he knew that she had potential, but not like this. Shin sits on the monster's head with her eyes closed. Kim thinks that they are riding the ichthyosaurus that Shin tamed, and it is so easy to cross the river like this. Kim remembers that when he was fighting the monsters, a Tier 5 sea monster, Queen Murabad, appeared. Kim thought he didn't expect to see the queen, and it was even bigger than the sea commander he had hunted. Shin starts walking towards Queen Murabad and taps its face with her hand. Shin wipes the blood from her nose and says that it is going to give them a ride. While traveling on the other side of the river, Sangha told Kim that if Shin became stronger now, then wouldn't Shin be even stronger in the future? Kim said that they don't need to worry about that. Kim thinks that he told Sangha that the catastrophe is the Shin from the future, but if things go according to the novel, the next catastrophe is Shin from a future of a different round. Sangha asks if the catastrophe from the future would still be alive if Shin dies now. Kim asks Sangha if she has heard about the disconnected film theory, and she says no. Kim tells her that let's call Shin's life in their world a roll of film. If the Shin of their world is film number 1, there would be numerous other films in other realities. There could be films 2 or 41. Sangha says then there would be as many films as there are worlds. Kim asks what if one of those films becomes disconnected and attached to the end of film number 1, and what if the latter half of film number 41 is spliced to the end of film number 1? Kim asks what will happen when that film is played. Sangha says that the content of the film will change midway. She says that would mean that the two films can't affect one another. Kim says yes, that is right. Sangha says let's say the current Shin is from film number 1 and Shin from film number 41 is the catastrophe. Since the two films exist independently of each other, nothing that happens to the Shin of their world can affect the catastrophe in any way. Kim thinks that Sangha is very smart. Sangha tells Kim that it still doesn't answer her question, and she asks Kim if the catastrophe would still be present even if Shin died. Kim asks, what if film number 1 is burned to ashes, the tape that's been spliced would burn too, and the Shin of the future will die if the Shin of the present dies since the two worlds have been forcibly linked. But the future Shin won't be affected, even if the Shin of the present changes. This is the paradox that is the core of the upcoming catastrophe. Sangha starts smiling and tells Kim that he knows so much. She says that she has heard about the parallel universes, but she hasn't heard anything about that before. Kim starts smiling and thinks of course she hasn't. It is a theory created by the author of TWSA. Kim sees a signboard that says Yongsan and says that it looks like they have arrived, they have crossed the river, and Shin is waving goodbye to Queen Murabad. Kim pats her on the head and says that she did great. He thinks that she is at an age where compliments can go a long way. Sangha starts smiling and thanks Shin for saving them. Kim is startled to hear a noise and wonders if it is a monster. He sees that there is a giant mantis. They are shocked to see that, and Kim grabs his sword. Someone is riding on the mantis. They look down and say that it is Dokja Kim. At night, Gilyong is hugging Kim. Kim asks how long it has been, and Kim receives a text message from Donghoon Han, who says nice to see him again. Kim says that it has been a while since they last saw each other and asks Han if it would hurt him to just speak to him. Han texts him again that he doesn't want to. Shin sees the kid hugging Kim, and she also starts hugging Kim and glares at the boy. The boy asks her what she wants. Shin tells Kim that the boy is staring at her, and the Gilyong asks Kim who she is. Kim thinks that like recognizes like, and he thinks that the Beast Lord and the Insect Master are so alike that he wonders if they will get along. Kim asks the Insect Master if he hasn't run into Huiwen yet. He replies no, but he thinks that he knows where she might be, and he has sent his bugs to look for her. Kim thinks that Huiwen is in the north right now, and the north is where the King of the Wanderers is. Kim thinks Huiwen may have made contact with them. Kim tells everyone that they should stay here for a while, maximize their skill level, and get coins in their spare time. He tells everyone to get their stats as high as they can. Kim asks Sangha if she managed to get in contact with her family. Sangha is surprised to hear that the system notifies that Han has used AI Internet Level 7. Sangha puts her hand on her mouth, and her hand is shaking while she holds the mobile. Kim tells Sangha to tell her family about their situation here. He tells her that once this scenario ends, the outer suburbs of Seoul won't be safe anymore. Sangha asks what is going to happen. Kim says that he doesn't know what will happen, so she tells them to get ready. This is the best she can do for them for now. Sangha asks what about his family. Kim says that he is fine, his family is in Seoul, and she will be fine. The system notifies Kim that someone has defeated the catastrophe of water in the north. Kim thinks that 4 of the 5 catastrophes have been taken care of. The catastrophe from the flaming depths of hell of the south, the catastrophe of questions of the east, the catastrophe of ice of the west, and the catastrophe of water of the north, and now only the catastrophe of floods remain. There is a red meteorite near the river. Meanwhile, Huiwen is training her sword skills with someone. She says that Jianuchi's techniques are amazing, and she says that this is enough for training. Jianuchi tells Huiwen that her swordsmanship is just as impressive. He says that since she'll soon be getting a supporting constellation, he will be no match for her anymore. Huiwen starts laughing and tells him to stop it. Giannucci asks if she is sure that she doesn't want to join them at the Nouvelle Vague. He says that their king would be overjoyed if she did. Huiwen says that she is sorry, but she has some friends waiting for her. Giannucci says that he hopes they know how frantically she's looking for them. Huiwen is sweating and says that they will. Huiwen says that she has a feeling that they might be watching her right now. Kim's shadow is startled to hear that and says that it is almost as if she's the omniscient reader between the two. He thinks that Huiwen seems to be progressing without a hitch. Kim sees that he is sleeping while the Insect Master and Beast Lord are preparing to sleep beside him. The Insect Master tells Shin to get away from Kim while he is being nice. She tells him to make her, and he calls her a lousy mutt. Shin tells him don't talk to her bug boy. They both angrily stare at each other. The Insect Master tells Shin that Kim doesn't like little kids like her. He knows who Kim likes. Shin asks him who it is, and he says there's this girl. After some time, Kim opened his eyes and wondered if it was a dream. Time flew by, and the sub-scenario, which seemed to go on forever, had finally come to an end. Shin asked the bug boy if he was hugging Kim, and he asked so what. Shin asks him if he is a baby. Kim says that he guessed that it wasn't a dream. The system displays that the sub-scenario survival activities, the difficulty is C+. Clear conditions are to survive in the ruined city for 10 days. He must eat 3 meals a day, sleep for 6 hours every night, pay a survival fee of 500 coins before going to sleep. If he fails to perform any of the 3 conditions, he will be met with a penalty. Duration is 10 days, there is no reward, and the penalty upon failure is death. This is a scenario where the coin event is applied. All monsters that appear during the scenario have a chance to drop coins when defeated. The system notifies that the sub-scenario survival activities have been completed. Suddenly, a dokkaebi appears in the city. He is wearing a black suit and glasses. He says that he must have kept them all waiting and asks if they enjoyed their survival activities. At long last, the 5th scenario, which they have all been waiting for, will begin. He says that there was a little mix-up in the schedule, but he assures them that this scenario will be well worth their wait. Kim is on the move. Kim looks at the dokkaebi and thinks that he must have gotten an earful from his superiors. He looks like he has lost some weight. The dokkaebi says that he sees that they have already defeated the catastrophes. Hats off to their efforts, but compared to the last catastrophe that they will go up against, the rest were mere child's play. Everyone is scared to hear that. The dokkaebi says that depending on how they perform in this scenario, all that they have accomplished up to this point may turn out to be futile, and everything may even come to an end, but luckily for them, there are beings out there who pity the situation that they are in. Numerous other dokkaebi also appear in the sky. Kim thinks that before the 5th scenario, one last event will occur. The dokkaebi announces that they'll begin the 2nd support selection, now as he snaps his fingers. A screen appears in the sky, and it says support selection. It has 2 options. First, choose their supporting constellation, and then the chosen constellation will be their reliable support. Numerous stars are shining, and screens appear in front of everyone in the city. A person excitedly says that he is signing a contract too, while one says to look over there. Shin tells Kim that he looks like a Christmas tree as numerous stars are shining bright above his head. The system notifies Kim that the constellations who love the Korean peninsula demand that he keeps his end of the bargain. Kim thinks that the number of stars that appear around one's head is equivalent to the number of constellations that want to become one's supporting constellations in the 2nd support selection. Kim thinks that all these constellations are there because of the promise he made in Dokja's Gamtu in return for 10,000 subscribers. Kim asks Behyung if he did what he asked him to do. Behyung is looking at a screen in front of him, and he replies to Kim that he did, but why would he make such a promise? Current subscribers on the Behyung's channel are 9,781. The system notifies that the constellations who love the Korean peninsula are nervous about the number of subscribers. Kim is also looking at the screen and thinks that the constellations which have been here since the last support selection are a prisoner of the Golden Headband, Abyssal Black Flame Dragon, Secretive Plotter, Coae Ill Pill, and Bald Leader of the Peasants. Kim thinks that he keeps rejecting them, but it can't be helped. Kim thinks that Coae Ill Pill must be Seongryong Ryu, and there is the great monk Samyong. Kim wonders why there is an Abyssal Black Flame Dragon here and asks why he doesn't go after Seong instead. There's also the Swords Master of Goryeo and Dionysus on the list. Kim thinks that he doesn't remember all their nicknames, so there are a few that he doesn't recognize. Suddenly, Kim is excited to see a name on the list and asks if this is for real. At the 49th place, there is a scribe of heaven. Kim thinks that he is one of the most powerful constellations of the pure good alignment and even outranks all the other angels, including Uriel, and he is heaven's right-hand man, Archangel Metatron. Kim looks at the screen and asks if he is there too. Kim asks what sort of constellations are watching him right now, and the system notifies him that many constellations are wondering if Kim will keep his promise. Kim asks Bihyung how many are there now, and he replies that there are 9,812. The time limit remaining on the screen is 3 minutes until the support selection ends. The system notifies that Constellation Bald, leader of the peasant army, is looking at Kim anxiously, and he has gifted Kim 200 points. Constellation Seo has gifted Kim 300 coins, and the Great King Hyungmu has gifted Kim 400 coins. Kim thinks that it is good that they have begun competing with the donations. Kim thinks that he didn't ask for 10,000 subscribers just to get out of the situation. The system notifies Kim that the prisoner of the golden headband has gifted him 5,000 coins, and the scribe of heaven has gifted Kim 30,000 coins, and the constellation prisoner of the golden headband glares at the constellation scribe of heaven. Kim starts smiling and says that there is no reason for him not to make use of this situation to take in the coins. There's an announcement that 2 minutes are remaining until the support selection ends. Kim asks Bihyung how many, and Bihyung replies that it is 9,984. Dokkaebi announces that 1 minute is remaining until the support selection ends. Kim looks up and sees that the number of subscribers has reached 9,999 and only 5 seconds remain. The system notifies that many constellations are watching nervously. The time is finished, and the system notifies that the support selection has ended, and the number of subscribers on the Bihyung's channel is 9,999. Kim starts laughing and says that it is a bummer and that he was going to pick one of them as soon as it hits 10,000. The system notifies that many constellations are shouting in protest, and many constellations are wondering who Kim was going to pick. Bihyung tells everyone that to protect the privacy of the said incarnation, he can't disclose that information. Kim says, "Good job, Bihyung." The system notifies them that a considerable number of constellations are in uproar. Bihyung tells them to calm down and says that it was a close one, but they didn't meet the 10,000 subscribers goal. In return for their show of support, he will hold a new event as a reward. The system notifies that many constellations are listening to what the Dokkaebi Bihyung has to say. Bihyung says that this is what most of them are probably thinking right now, that what is the point of letting an incarnation that he can't control run rampant, so here's his plan. This incarnation has refused yet again to pick a supporting constellation, so they should punish him. Kim starts mocking everyone on the screen and pretends that he is scared. The system notifies that many constellations strongly agree with the Dokkaebi Bihyung. Shin asks Kim why he didn't pick a supporting constellation. Kim replies that he didn't feel like it. He thinks that he almost went for it when he saw Metatron. Kim tells Sangha to take the children and hide. Sangha asks if he has a plan, and Kim says of course, and he tells Sangha not to come out until he gives her the signal. The system notifies that a new bounty scenario has arrived. The name of the bounty scenario is Divine Punishment, and the category is Bounty. Difficult is a clear conditions are to deliver brutal and ruthless death to the incarnation of Dr. Kim. The more brutally he dies, the more coins they can earn. The time limit is 20 minutes, and the reward is 40,000 coins. A red skull appears above Kim's head, and the system notifies him that he has become the target of a bounty scenario. Everyone is shocked to hear the reward of 40,000 coins. Everyone jumps to attack Kim from all sides. A person shouts, "Don't let him get away. He's worth 40,000 coins." The system notifies that many constellations are pleased with the way the scenario is going, and Kim starts running. Bihyung tells the constellations to please note that in this divine punishment event, they can apply various penalties to the incarnation of Dr. Kim by gifting him coins. The system notifies that a greedy constellation has applied the speed penalty on Kim. Kim slows down, and the system notifies that he has been gifted 500 coins. A person is about to attack Kim and says that he got him, but Kim swings his sword, cuts the person, and starts running again. The system notifies Kim that a constellation that wants him to suffer has applied the attack penalty on him. Everyone is running after Kim, and Kim thinks that it is good and says this is for the better. The system notifies them that he has been gifted 500 coins. A dokkaebi asks Baehyung what he thinks he is doing. Baehyung says that they are just having a little fun before the main. All the other dokkaebis are jealous of Baehyung. Kim thinks that Baehyung's subscribers count didn't reach 10,000 because the whole thing was rigged from the beginning. From the beginning, the maximum subscriber count of the Baehyung channel was 999. Baehyung messages Kim if he thinks that they are going to be alright. He tells Kim that if they get caught again, they will be charged for breaking the rules of plausibility. Kim, while avoiding the arrows, replies that is why they are holding this event as a distraction. Baehyung says that he didn't know that this would actually work. Kim says he did because they used to do it all the time at the game company he used to work for. The system notifies Kim that a constellation who wishes for his death has applied the defense penalty on him and that he has been gifted 500 coins. Kim's arm is cut by a flying knife. The system notifies that a few constellations are saddened to see him in peril. A person says that he is headed towards the Han River, so there's nowhere to run. Kim jumps into the river and everyone wonders if he has lost his mind. The monsters are looking at Kim, and the system notifies Kim that many constellations have become ecstatic. The monsters are about to attack Kim when the system notifies them that the personal skill bookmark has been activated. The system displays the list of available bookmarked characters. The first one is Delusional Demon Namwoon Kim, the second one is Steel Blade Hyunseong Lee, the third one is Insider In Hochin, and the fourth one is Lykeon Isparang. Kim says that he will remove the slot number 3 character and replace him with Beast Tamer Yusin Shin. The system notifies that bookmark number 3 has been activated and Advanced Interspecies Communications Level 3 is activated. The duration of the bookmark skill will be based on his skill level, and the duration is 30 minutes. The system notifies Kim that his understanding of the character has reached a significant level, so Kim can choose to use a few of their skills on his own. The system notifies that Taming Level 9 has been activated. Kim's eyes turn white as he undergoes the change. After a while, he looks at the monsters and says that he can feel the scent of the monsters and their emotions. He can also feel the circuitry of his brain synchronizing with theirs. Kim starts bleeding from his nose and his eyes are shining bright. He summons Queen Murabad, it responds to his call, and after some time, Kim is riding on the queen. Kim asks if she can't go a bit slower. The queen submerges in the river and Kim is barely holding on. The system notifies that the constellation prisoner of the golden headband is crackling at Kim. Queen Murabad throws Kim on the other side of the river and Kim starts coughing water outside. The system notifies that the personal skill bookmark has been deactivated. Kim thinks that he can use the same skills but not as proficiently. Kim thinks that she did let him off at his destination, which is the southwestern area of Yongsan-gu. The last catastrophe meteorite should be here at Nodal Island. Kim looks back, and he is surprised to see that some people are following him. They also land on the island, and a person asks where he is. He is sure that he saw Kim going this way. Kim is hiding behind a tree, and he is concerned that they have followed him here already. He doesn't realize there are so many people who have learned to fly. Someone arrives there and tells everyone to get off the island. While she is still asking nicely, she is holding a sword in her hand. A person asks, "Who the hell is that young brat?" She cuts off his arm. There's blood everywhere as he starts screaming. Another man says that she is the naval warfare god and asks what she is doing here. He tells everyone to run for it. After everyone is gone, she asks Kim why he hasn't come out yet. She asks Kim what the use of hiding is when he has the target mark on him. She can't tell if Kim is dumb or smart. Kim comes out with his hands in the air and asks if she is going to kill him too. She starts smiling and says that she wants to, but she can't because that might make her master sad. Kim thinks that he would be sad if he didn't get to kill himself. She asks Kim how he has been. Kim says that he thought she went back to Tipong Girls High, and he asks her what she is doing here. She replies that Master came to get her a while back, and she has no idea how he found her. Kim looks at her and thinks that it looks like her stats have already neared the maximum value allowed for the scenario, and her Demon Slayer and Blade proficiency skills seem to have improved. Kim wonders how everyone seems to power up when he's not with them. Kim asks her if she is here with you, and she replies didn't he come here knowing that. She asks Kim why he brought those dead weights with him, and he replies that he is hunting down the catastrophe. She tells Kim that he doesn't have to fight the catastrophe, that's what Master said. Kim is surprised to hear that. She said that her master told her that the final catastrophe wouldn't be dangerous at all if he is around, but he told her to stop whoever tried to come to the island. Kim is shocked to hear that. Kim starts running after hearing that and thinks that it can't be happening. While running, he sees some people trying to enter the island and someone is trying to stop them from entering. He says that he is a lieutenant of Unit 6502. The person who is trying to enter tries to punch the lieutenant, but he easily stops the punch and says that it is dangerous to rebel against the government. He picks up the person and throws him into the river. Everyone is scared to see that. The lieutenant asks if anyone else needs a lift. Everyone gets scared and decides to leave the island, thinking that he is a monster. The lieutenant thinks that he is tired and it feels like he is about to die, and he wonders where Kim is. Some call his name from behind, and Hyunseong turns around and sees that it is Kim. He is excited to see Kim and starts crying. Kim tells him to keep his distance from him. Some people spot Kim and say that the target is over there. Hyunseong punches the ground and destroys it into pieces and says he told them that this area is dangerous. The system notifies Kim that the character Hyunseong Lee has used Stigma, Great Mountain Crush Level 5. Kim looks at Lee and wonders what you did to him that he became so strong in such a short time. Kim thinks that you turned the army lieutenant into Captain Korea. Lee looks at Kim with tears in his eyes. Kim asks him where Yu is, and Lee replies that he is the first on Island. Kim starts running again and tells Lee that he will be back soon, and then they will talk. Kim thinks that he feels bad for Lee, but he doesn't have time to catch up with him. He has to hurry up and check up on Yu before it gets too late. After some time, Kim reaches the meteorite and sees Poison Beauty standing there. She asks who he is. Kim is trying to catch his breath when Yu appears from behind the meteorite and asks Kim what he thinks he is doing right now. Yu tells Kim that he has a lot he doesn't know about someone who has a vision for the future. Kim asks Yu if he feeds the scenario guide meteorite to the catastrophe. Kim thinks that Yu is going to make the meteorite hatch prematurely, just as he expected. Kim is angry. He asks Yu why he is trying to awaken the catastrophe so early. Kim asks Yu if he has lost his mind, and Yu says that this catastrophe was an ally of his in his past life, so this catastrophe is safe. Kim thinks that Yu is right. No wonder everything seemed to be going so smoothly for him this round. Kim grabs his head and says that he had forgotten since he helped him out a few times. Kim thinks that Yu is an idiot who has to die hundreds of times to just barely reach the end. The system notifies that the catastrophe of floods is going to hatch. Kim shouts at Seolhwa to take Yu with her and get off this island. He tells her that the catastrophe of floods is nothing like the previous scenarios. He says that they need to band together and fight it as one. Suddenly, Yu appears from behind and strikes Kim's neck using his fingers. He tells Kim not to get in his way unless he wants to die. Kim falls to his knees and thinks that he has struck his pressure points. Kim tells Yu to listen to him, and Kim tells him that the Shin he is awakening now isn't the Shin that he knows. If he meets her, Kim starts coughing and thinks that his voice isn't coming out. The dokkaebi says that the incarnations sure have a short temper. They are so eager to awaken the catastrophe when all the other planets have tried to avoid it. He tells them to get ready to greet the catastrophe. The meteorite starts cracking, and the system notifies that the catastrophe of floods is awakening and a new main scenario has arrived. Everyone is shocked to look at their screens. The screen displays the main scenario number 5, the catastrophe of floods. The difficulty is SS. Clear conditions defeat the catastrophe of floods using Shin. There is no time limit, and the reward is 100,000 coins. The penalty for failure is the destruction of soul. Kim is lying on the ground, and the system notifies him that the fourth wall has nullified his emotional shock. Kim looks at the catastrophe as she is coming out of the meteorite covered in feathers. Some people also reach there and ask if that woman is the catastrophe. The catastrophe looks up and sees that Yu is standing in front of her. He says that he has been waiting for her, and she says that the captain waiting for her means that this must not be the first time they have met. Kim thinks that Yu made it to the 46th scenario in his second round because he received valuable information from the flood catastrophe. Yu tells her that he needs her help. Shin asks the captain which round he is in right now. Yu asks why she is asking him that, and she replies that it is because she needs to know. Kim thinks that he shouldn't say another word to her. He thinks that she was cooperative in Yu's second round, but she's different this time around. Yu tells her that it is his third round. Shin gets up and says that even though she had given him the information in the previous rounds, he had failed. Yu tells her that is why he needs more information from her. Kim remembers that Shin of the second round gave the information she had to Yu and ended her own life. That was her last act of kindness towards Yu. Shin is in shock. She says that it took thousands of years. She was sent to the past by Yu in his 41st round. According to his plan, she wandered through the labyrinth of worlds for thousands of years and returned to the earth of the past as a catastrophe. Shin asks Yu if he knows how excruciating it was and what hardships she faced just so that she could do his bidding. She says that she has endured 200 years for the sake of humanity and another 200 because she promised to protect their world, and after that, she endured by thinking of him and the others. She asks what the point of all that was. Yu tells her to quit her blabbering and just give him the information about the 41st round. Kim is lying on the ground behind Yu and thinks that he shouldn't talk like that to her. Shin asks the captain what they were to him. She says that she has fulfilled her duty and even given him a chance, but he is still the same and always will be. Kim gets up as he is holding his throat. He is trying his best to speak, but words are not coming out of his mouth. Shin tells Yu that he will carry on using people like tools and will put her in the labyrinth of worlds again because of that petty sense of righteousness and that goal of his. She tells Yu that she missed him a lot as she is creating an energy ball in her hand. She says that she despises Yu for living only for himself. She says that there is only one thing that she can tell him now. Shin tells the captain that he can't save anyone. This is where his third round ends and she attacks Yu using the blast. Kim is running towards Yu and tells him to move. Kim pushes Yu away and the attack hits Kim in the stomach and there's a large hole. Yu is shocked to see that. Kim starts coughing blood. Yu grabs Kim as he falls to his knees. Kim thinks that this world has always been like this, a world where one could die for taking one wrong step. Now he realizes how lucky he has been. Kim asks Yu if he can finish him off because he always wanted to kill him. He says that he will give him 1 minute to do it, so please kill him. The system notifies them that the fourth wall has partially nullified his physical pain. Yu tells Kim that it is not too late and Kim says that it is. Yu shouts at him and says that no, it isn't. Kim thinks that he is missing the lower half of his intestines. He starts closing his eyes and thinks even Seolhwa wouldn't be able to fix him now. The system notifies Kim that he has died and his current karma points are 100 out of 100. The system notifies Kim that he has enough karma points to use his special ability and skill, and the King of No Killing takes effect. The system notifies that the effect of the Immortal King has been delayed due to a conflicting skill, and the system notifies that his consciousness has been freed from the confines of his body due to death. The system notifies that level 3 of the Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint has been activated automatically. Kim's soul opens his eyes and he sees that he has died again. He thinks that this feeling is so disgusting no matter how many times he experiences it. He thinks that it is a given since he died. Kim decides to use a third-person observer viewpoint. Kim thinks that he would prefer not to, but if he could get used skills by using the first-person main character's point of view, that would make it easier for them to fight the catastrophe. Kim is shocked to see that Shin has started using her power and says flood. A large portal opens up in the sky, and numerous monsters start appearing through the portal. Shin orders them to rip, tear, and destroy and says now is the time of catastrophe. Kim sees that there are even level 5, 6, and 7 monsters, and after considering small catastrophes, he thinks that this is the speciality of the legendary attribute, Beast Lord. Everyone is running for their lives, and they wonder where these monsters came from. Kim starts searching for Yu and wonders if he managed to escape. Kim sees that Yu is in the air, and he tells Shin that he will kill her and attacks her using his sword. Kim thinks that Yu has lost his mind and wonders why he didn't run away. There's a large blast due to Yu's attack, and there's dust everywhere. Kim sees that Shin has her foot on Yu's sword and asks if Yu can use the breaker already. She says that it is high level too. She tells Yu that he should know more than anyone else, and that this won't be enough. Yu tells her that she will die in this round, and she says that perhaps in 10 years, Yu swings his sword and say that he will make sure of it. Yu looks furious. Shin says that it isn't like him to be so worked up. Something is off. She asks if he is indeed the captain that she knows, and she asks who that incarnation that died. Kim sees his corpse. Yu furiously starts attacking Shin. Shin kicks him, but Yu defends using his arm and attacks Shin. She dodges the blade by moving her head and kicks you in his face. Shin lands on the ground and starts moving at a rapid pace towards you. She is about to attack you when he says that the incarnation she killed was his companion. Shin is shocked to hear that, and Kim is surprised. Kim thinks that you had never referred to Shin in the 41st round as his companion until the very end. Shin stops in her tracks and asks the captain what he just said and asks if that man is his companion. You says that is right. Kim thinks that you will kill him if he sees him resurrect. He thinks that you must have said that because of the coins he will earn. The system notifies that the constellation naval warfare god is touched by their camaraderie, and the constellation bald army general is tearing at the sight of their comradeship, and he has been gifted 500 coins. Kim thinks that you knew he would be paid if he said lines like that while bleeding profusely. Shin is still in shock and asks the captain how he could say such things. She rushes to punch you and asks how dare he say that to her face. You blocks the punch using his sword. Shin furiously starts throwing punches at him and asks why he is calling him his companion. Is it because he sacrificed himself for you? Kim is shocked to see that the SSS grade sword Sky Shaker is struggling. That sword is famous for its durability. Shin throws a kick at you and asks what about her, Jihai, Hyunseong and Seolhwa. She asks you what about the people who fought for him and what they were to him. You grabs his ribs and says that he doesn't know what she is talking about. He says that all he knows is this. She has killed his companion in this round, so she will die too. Kim looks at you in disbelief and says that he was touched by what you just said. Kim thinks that he was just a reader, and now he has become Yu's companion. The system notifies Kim that certain effects of the fourth wall have been restricted due to increased immersion, and his proficiency in omniscient reader's viewpoint skill has increased drastically due to increased immersion. Shin starts shaking with anger and says that is why he's hopeless. She says that it's too late for him to change like that, and she won't let him ever. Kim thinks that he would love to watch you get beat up more, but he needs to switch to the first-person main character's point of view soon. Kim closes his eyes and switches to the first-person main character's point of view from the third-person observer's viewpoint. The system notifies that the viewpoint is changing to the first person. After some time, Kim opens his eyes, and the system notifies that the attempt failed to switch to the first-person main character's point of view. Kim asks why the system notified them that he had not met the requirements for switching perspectives. Kim thinks that there are two conditions to using the first-person main character point of view. 1. He needs to be dead and in an out-of-body state, and 2. Both the target and him need to be thinking about each other. Kim thinks that the first condition has been met, so the second must be the problem. He thinks that there's no way Yu's not thinking about him. He just said that he's going to avenge his death. Yu is furious as he tells Shin that he will kill her, and he will make sure of it. Kim thinks that it is possible that Yu's mind is blanking out right now due to increased rage. Shin says that it is not acceptable. She was going to make it quick, but she has changed her mind. She says that she will kill everyone Yu knows in the most painful way possible and make sure that Yu sees everything. She orders her monsters to grab Yu and tie him. Yu is trapped, and Kim thinks that he needs to possess someone other than Yu or someone who is thinking about him. Anyone will do that. He needs to find someone who is thinking about him. Shin looks at Yu and wonders how he could, of all people, call someone his companion, but if he's being sincere, then maybe this round could be different. Some people are running towards Shin to kill her. She cuts them in half in an instant. At the same time, Jihai comes from the woods and asks how dare she do that to Master. Shin starts smiling to see her. After some time, Jihai is kneeling on the ground as she is bleeding. Shin says that she almost forgot that they were on a river, and that naval warfare was her speciality. The river around the island and the ships are frozen. Shin tells Jihai that she still has to learn that a captain's place is on the ship. She asks Jihai what she is doing in a place like this. Tier 5 Sea King Beast, King Masswood, appears in the river and starts freezing the river. Everyone starts swimming backwards after seeing it. Back at the island, Jihai asks Shin how she knows her name. She doesn't even know her, and Shin says that she has no idea how Yu is going to take advantage of her and then abandon her as she grabs her face. Jihai swings her sword, but Shin quickly moves back. Jihai asks how she is so fast. Shin tells her that she wants Yu to accept her more than anything, but she died during a naval battle. She asks if she knows what Yu said about her then. You said that their naval warfare would be more difficult from now on. Shin tells Jihai not to worry because that won't happen on this round. She will make sure to give her a painless death. Shin jumps towards her and smashes her head on the ground. Meanwhile, Lee smashes the ice in the river and destroys it into pieces. Numerous people come out of the river and they say that it was close. They nearly froze to death. Shin arrives there and tells Lee that she knows he will be here, their trustworthy shield who has saved her life many times. Lee asks if she knows him. The tier monster Heavy Metal King is also standing behind Shin. Shin calls Lee a loyal dog and tells him that he hasn't changed a bit. The monster attacks Lee. He defends using his shield. Shin says that after saving so many lives, Lee defended you until his last moment and turned to ashes from the breath of the Iron Blood Dragon. Lee makes a strong punch, attacks the monster, and throws it far away. Lee is sweating. Shin asks if he knows what you said when he died. He said that he had lost a handy shield. Lee is surprised to hear that. Shin thinks that all of them need to experience the same pain as her and the things she has seen. Lee tells her that he doesn't understand what she is saying, and Lee tells her that he's not a follower of you. Shin is shocked to hear that, and Lee tells her that he is Dokja Kim's companion. Shin is speechless and thinks that something is not right. She rushes towards Lee and punches him in the stomach. Lee spits out a lot of blood. Shin thinks that something is different about this round, and she wonders who Dokja Kim is. Shin sees that everyone is attacking her and thinks that all these people should have been either dead or following you by now. She wonders whose orders they are following and asks where the ruler's throne is. Shin sees that everyone is circling around to kill her, and she protects herself from the arrows using a shield. The monsters start attacking the people to protect Shin. She notices that the ground below her feet is frozen with ice breath. She looks up and sees Queen Murabad. She thinks that she knows it is on Earth, but wonders why it is attacking her. A voice comes from above and asks if she is the future her. Younger Shin is riding the queen, and she shouts at the catastrophe to bring Kim back to life. The catastrophe Shin is shocked to see her younger self there. The catastrophe starts laughing and says that she knew it. Other monsters start attacking the queen. Shin says this is more like it. Of course, you found Shin of this world. Shin falls down from the queen. The catastrophe says that Yu was trying to kill her by killing the young Shin. The catastrophe looks at the young Shin and says hello past her. Suddenly, Sangha grabs her hand using her rope and tells Shin to run. The catastrophe looks at Sangha and thinks that the Olympus is here and there is a tier 6 monarch-level insect attacking her from the sky. The insect master is riding on the mantis. He orders Titano to get her and asks what she did to Kim. The catastrophe is surprised to hear that and remembers that everyone is asking her about Dokja Kim. She wonders who he is. Titano is about to attack the catastrophe, but she uses her blast attack and kills it. The insect master falls on the ground and attacks the catastrophe using Antinous. The catastrophe is surprised and thinks that Antinous is the queen of the insects of Kronos that she has destroyed, and this child is controlling the queen as his minion. The catastrophe grabs Antinous with her hand and says that she is impressed and tells the kid that he has some skill. She throws Antinous away and says that he must have the potential of a lord. She grabs him by his throat and lifts him in the air. She asks the boy who is Dokja Kim. The catastrophe says to tell her or prepare to die. There's a cannon fire, but she jumps in the air to avoid the attack. She thinks that it is the cannon fire from the Ghost Fleet. At the same time, Jihai and Lee arrive here. The catastrophe thinks that she did enough damage to kill them both, and she wonders why they are still alive. She says that it is so annoying and starts squeezing the boys' throats and says that she will just ask them about Kim. She says goodbye to Gillian. Suddenly, her hand starts acting strange and the veins start twitching. Her hand lets go of the boy. Gillian falls on the ground and she wonders if she has been infected by a parasite. She thinks that it is impossible. Guides can't fight against catastrophes, and it is only a tier 5 parasite. She says that she can't control her body. A voice comes and tells her to stop. Kim's spirit is standing behind her. She puts her hand on her ear and wonders where the voice is coming from. She asks who he is. The catastrophe puts hands on her ears and says get out of her head. She starts crying and asks why it feels like she misses him. She screams again and says get out of her head. Kim is trying to possess the catastrophe, and Shin looks at the catastrophe and asks if it is Kim. The system notifies Kim that level 3 of the omniscient reader's viewpoint is activated. Kim thinks that he wasn't planning to do this from the beginning. The system notifies Kim that the person supporting the actor's point of view has been activated. Kim wonders if he is seeing things from Shin's point of view. He had no idea that he could actually possess a catastrophe. Kim can see Yu tied up and wonders if this is because of his conversation with Yu. Kim thinks that this is for the best. It might be better for him to see what Shin is up to than Yu since he's tied. Kim can hear Shin's thoughts. She says that she can't accept this. She asks what about her suffering and the years she lived. She asks what she will get in return for this round. She says that she will kill them all, every last one of them. Kim thinks that in the flood of her thoughts, he looked at the world through Shin's eyes, breathed through her nose, and killed people with her hands. He was Yuseon Shin. The system notifies that the fourth wall is shaking violently. Jihai asks the catastrophe where she thinks she's going and rushes towards her to attack. Kim thinks if the catastrophe attacks her directly, then Jihai will die. He says that he needs to stop them. The catastrophe was about to attack Jihai. Kim thinks that if he can control the catastrophe's body and tries to hold her from attacking, the catastrophe attacks Jihai and smashes her skull on the ground. The system notifies Kim that he has interfered in the character's actions through the first-person supporting actor's point of view. Kim thinks that he has done it, so he grabs his head and starts screaming. The system notifies Kim that the fourth wall is shaking violently. Kim says that it feels like his entire body is burning up. But even if it was a tiny change, he was able to make her lose a bit of power in attacking Jihai, and Jihai managed to survive because of that, and so did Lee. The catastrophe screams who he is. The system notifies Kim that he has a high understanding of the character Shin. She grabs her hand and tells Kim to get the hell out of her head. Shin runs towards the catastrophe and asks if Kim is in there. She is about to grab the catastrophe's hand, and suddenly lightning starts coming out of their contact. The catastrophe starts seeing the memories and thinks that this memory is of young Shin. Kim is holding both of their hands and says that their memories are being linked because of him. There's a lot of lightning. Kim thinks that according to the disconnected film theory, the two of them should be able to coexist but not share their history, but the theory only applies to the characters. Kim wonders what if the two films that weren't supposed to be linked had been linked because of him, an outsider who isn't a character in the novel. The catastrophe rips her arm off and tells Kim to get the hell out of her head. Kim yells at her to stop, and he says that he is beginning to feel what Shin is feeling right now. The catastrophe starts crying, and Kim wonders what he should do. He thinks that if he can hold on a little longer, then the catastrophe can collapse on its own. Kim says that he may be acting out of character. The system notifies Kim that conflicting skills have been resolved, the effects of the immortal king have been resumed, his body is revived from death, and body regeneration is commencing. Kim thinks that it feels as if he is going to regret it if he doesn't do this. The system notifies Kim that a constellation that likes to change genders is disappointed by his decision. Kim is revived from the dead, and the system notifies that his personal skill, the fourth wall, has nullified the shock of dying, now preparing the omniscient reader's viewpoint level 3 reward. Kim thinks that this time, he revived where there were not any people around. The system notifies that the Immortal King attribute has taken effect, and he has spent 100 karma points, his bodily wastes have been excreted, and his physique has been enhanced. Kim is naked. He sees that his clothes and items are still there. The system notifies Kim that his stamina and mana have each increased by level 2, and his stats have exceeded the limit set for the scenario. While Kim is wearing his clothes, Yu calls him from behind. He is looking at Kim in disbelief. Kim thinks that he forgot that Yu was right there. He tells Yu not to say that he is going to kill him again, because if he died again, then he will die for good. Yu starts screaming at Kim. Kim brings out his sword and says that he will explain later. He kills the monsters and tells Yu to come with him because they haven't got much time. Kim and Yu arrive where the catastrophe is. Everyone starts running towards them. Kim sees that the catastrophe is on her knees and she has lost a lot of blood. Kim starts walking towards her. Lee tells him that she's dangerous, and Kim tells him that he will be fine. The catastrophe looks up and sees Kim standing there. She asks who the hell he is. Kim thinks that they might be able to defeat the catastrophe of floods if all of them were to attack her now. The catastrophe says that because of him, everything is ruined. This never happened in the round she knew of. Kim says welcome. He has been waiting for her for a long time. She asks just who he is, and Kim replies someone who wants to build the same world as her. Sangha puts her hand on Kim's shoulder. Kim turns around and tells everyone that he won't kill the catastrophe, and she's shocked to hear that. Kim says that he won't allow any objections, so he asks them all to go along with his decision. Jihai asks what he is saying, and Lee tells her that Kim must have something in mind and tells Kim that he will support his decision. The insect master says that he is fine with it if that's what Kim wants. Jihai says fine and says Kim always does what he wants anyway. Shin starts crying. Kim pats her on the head. The catastrophe asks Kim if he is not going to kill her. She says, don't make her laugh, and asks who he thinks he is. The catastrophe says that the world of the 41st round, which she's from, is no more. In the entire universe, in all the timelines, the people she knew don't exist anymore. During all those years she has suffered, she asks Kim how she could forget all of that. She looks at you and is suddenly silent. Kim thinks that to lose the world one lives in, and to lose the people one loves, and having to live again in that world despite that, the only person in the world who understands her pain is the regressor you. You gets up and says all regressors live out their lives in contempt of things that haven't happened yet. One kills someone because they will end up being a villain and kills someone because they will end up killing his friend, and sometimes one saves someone because they will be an ally. You says he knows none of that has happened yet. He also knows that they don't remember him, and that they haven't done anything wrong, but he takes action believing that they will. He believes that they won't stray from the life they were destined to live, because to him these are the things that are definitely going to happen, and if he denies that, he can't go on living. The catastrophe starts shouting at you, saying that it is all because of how he lived with her friends. You interrupts her and says that she should live as he does. You tells her that if she wants, he will be the object of her contempt. He tells her to carry on living with the goal of killing him in this round. The catastrophe is shocked to hear that. Yu turns around and starts walking, and she tells him to wait. Kim comes near her, gives her his hand, and tells her that now, this is her new round. The dokkaebi appears in the sky and says that he is sorry, but he can't allow that. Kim looks at the sky and starts smiling. He thinks that he knew it was about time he showed up, that damn mid-grade dokkaebi. Kim tells the dokkaebi that they didn't break any rules of the scenario. He tells Kim that they have got it all wrong and asks how they can keep a catastrophe alive because that's against the rules. He adjusts his glasses and says that their goal for the scenario is to defeat the catastrophe, and if they do not stay true to the scenario then, Kim interrupts the dokkaebi and tells him don't worry, they will kill the catastrophe. Dokkaebi is shocked to hear that. Jihai asks Kim what he is saying because earlier he said that he wouldn't kill the catastrophe. Kim says they'll kill her, but not right now. Kim says that he clearly remembers that this scenario didn't have a time limit, so it is up to them to decide when they will kill the catastrophe. Dokkaebi is shocked to hear that. Kim thinks that there aren't many instances where the characters go against the scenario in TWSA, especially when the line between good and evil is blurred, like right now, the constellations of the purely good and pure evil alignments are bound to subscribe. They like to decide who is good and who is evil based on their whims, and this scenario is not a sub-scenario, but a main scenario. Even a mid-level dokkaebi won't be able to make changes to its conditions. Kim tells the dokkaebi to quit pushing them. He thinks the constellations love it when something like this happens, and the system notifies that the constellation Scribe of Heaven is watching him with interest. The dokkaebi adjusts his glasses and says that he can't let that happen. Kim asks him if he is going to meddle in the scenario again, and if he forget what happened when he did that last time. Kim thinks that he has been disciplined once already for doing just that. Bi-hyung asks Kim what he thinks he is doing. Kim replies that he should get ready and tells Bi-hyung that he is counting on him if things go out of hand. Bi-hyung asks why him. Kim replies that if he dies, then he will take Bi-hyung with him, so don't forget that. Bi-hyung is anxious as he is sweating. The dokkaebi is angry and says that it is interesting, but it won't go according to his plan. Not all incarnations in the Soul Dome would want the same thing as him. A screen appears and the system notifies that a new sub-scenario has arrived. It says Sub-Scenario Catastrophe of Floods. The category is Sub. The difficulty is SS. Clear conditions are to defeat the catastrophe of floods using Shin. There is no time limit and no penalty for failure, and the reward is 2 times the reward of the main scenario. The dokkaebi says that starting now, the bounty on the catastrophe of floods will be doubled. Everyone is shocked to see their screens. Kim thinks that he's going to get his way using a sub-scenario that he can create. As he wants now, the reward is 200,000 coins, which is twice the original amount. Kim is sure that there will be people willing to risk their lives to get that reward. Kim is alert for an incoming attack when a voice says don't dare move if they value their lives, or they will die like a moth to a flame. Kim looks in that direction and sees that there is the King of Beauty, Jeonmin, and the Maitreya King, and the neutral king, Ildo Jeon. Everyone freezes after that warning. The system notifies that Naval Warfare God is proud of the incarnations of the Korean Peninsula. The dokkaebi says how disappointing he didn't know that the incarnations of the Seoul Dome would be a bunch of cowards. Everyone is protecting the catastrophe, and she is shocked to see that. Kim asks the dokkaebi why he hasn't given it up already. He asks if he thinks that they have done enough to satisfy them. The dokkaebi starts laughing and asks if Kim has been thinking that far ahead already. He says that Kim is an amazing showman, just like Dokja told him. He says that Kim is right. Violence isn't all there is to entertainment. Kim thinks that he has been trying to win the favor of the constellations by saving the catastrophe. He used words that would avoid Starstream's censorship and tried his best to make them sympathetic towards the catastrophe. And he has made them root for his rebellion and made them pity the situation they are in. All of this was so that he could change the direction in which this scenario was headed. Kim thinks that in the world of Starstream, the only miraculous time the goal of the scenario changes is when the majority of the constellations who are watching the scenario want it to change. Kim asks the dokkaebi why he doesn't hurry up and decide, either give them the reward or carry on with the fifth scenario. He says there aren't any problems in starting the sixth scenario, even if the fifth one hasn't ended yet. The dokkaebi says that the incarnation of Dokja Kim is the most intelligent and dangerous incarnation he knows, but this time his intelligence will be his downfall. Kim is surprised to hear that and asks what he means. Dokkaebi says alright then, constellations. The system notifies that a mid-grade dokkaebi has intervened in the scenario. The dokkaebi starts smirking, and the system notifies that the control over the catastrophe of floods Yuseung Shin has been transferred to the mid-grade dokkaebi according to the scenario contract. Kim looks at her and sees that she is screaming as she is being chained. Kim shouts at dokkaebi to hold on and asks what he is doing. The dokkaebi says to fulfill the contract, the cogwheel of scenarios. The system notifies that the character's personality has been forced to change and a tornado appears out of nowhere. Everyone is trying to brace themselves. Kim thinks that the scenario enforcement is the power to control the fate of all the parts that make up the scenario, but it is hardly used since it violates the rule of plausibility too much. It being in place means that the majority of the constellations have agreed to the plausibility of this change in direction. The system notifies that many constellations are ecstatic with the way the scenario is going. Many constellations dislike the drama that Kim created, and the character Yuseung Shin's alignment has been fixed to evil. Kim looks at Bi-hyung and wonders why the constellations have turned their backs on him. Bi-hyung is worried and tells Kim that he is sorry. He tried to persuade them, but it doesn't go as well because Kim's reputation is way worse than he expected. Kim looks at the screen and thinks that all the messages he has been seeing seem favorable. The dokkaebi calls Kim an arrogant incarnation and asks if he thinks he can control the constellations that easily. He tells Kim that humans have the tendency to only believe what they want to believe. Kim is shocked to look at the negative comments on the screen. It says some constellations are laughing at his decision, a few have retracted their support for him, and most constellations are dubious of his intent. Kim thinks that he made a mistake. Not all constellations send messages in the chat. Kim wonders how he could forget that. He thinks that he tricked the constellations using a cheap trick and cancelled the special event. The smarter constellations would have already noticed that Bi-hyung's channel had a maximum capacity of 9,999. They just played along to see where he was going with the scenario. They won't fall for his tricks anymore. Kim thinks that he has underestimated the constellations. The dokkaebi says that it seems like this is the end of his luck, the incarnation of Dokja Kim. The system notifies that the constellation prisoner of the Golden Headband is watching him with sympathetic eyes, and the constellations of the Korean Peninsula are looking at Kim with pity. The monster gate opens again. Kim thinks that this is how it is going to be, and the catastrophe starts screaming. Yu pulls out his sword and starts moving toward Shin. Kim tells him to wait. Yu says that Kim has failed and rushes to kill Shin, but Kim jumps in between them. He tells Yu not to harm the kid, and if he harms her, then he will never forgive him. Yu tells Kim that there is no other way, and Kim replies that there is. They will give the constellations the scenario that they want to see. Yu asks what he means, and Kim replies that they can defeat the catastrophe. The catastrophe starts attacking Jihai. She asks why she is coming after her first. The catastrophe thinks that she thought there was hope if only for a brief moment. But of course this place was hopeless as well. She attacks Jihai, and there's a huge blast. The catastrophe is surprised to see that Kim stopped her attack. The system notifies Kim that he has experienced a personal supporting actor's point of view, so he can now obtain the skill of the supporting actor he was immersed in. Kim protects Jihai, and the system notifies Kim that he has obtained the personal skill sentiment of the Beast King. Kim's eyes are yellow in color, and he starts coughing blood. The system notifies Kim that the personal skill sentiment of the Beast King level 3 has been activated. Kim looks like Shin. Yu looks at Kim and tells him that he stole her skill, but that won't be enough. Kim says that he knows and tells Yu to cover him. The system notifies most constellations are excited by what Kim just said, and most constellations want to see an action-packed fight. Kim thinks that if this is what they want, then he will act it out for them as much as they like. He starts rushing towards the catastrophe and says that he will stop her. Kim activates the personal skill bookmark, and the character bookmark has also been activated. The system displays the list of available bookmarks. Kim is about to attack the catastrophe when she tells him to go ahead and kill her. Kim says it's the price he will pay for failing to change the scenario. He says that he will remove delusional demon Nemwoon Kim from slot number 1 and add Judge of Evil, Hui Wenjiang. Kim attacks the catastrophe. The system notifies Kim that the duration of the bookmark skill will be determined based on his skill level, and the skill duration is 30 minutes. The system notifies Kim that his understanding of the character has reached a significant level, so he can choose to make one of their skills his own. There's a scale above Kim's head, and the system notifies that the skill Time of Judgment level 5 has been activated, and the constellation Scribe of Heaven is flustered. Shin looks at the scale and steps backward. The system notifies Kim that the constellations of the pure good alignment are stirred up by the skill he used. Kim thinks that he is sure that they're surprised. He used this skill even though he wasn't chosen as a judge, but he will have no choice but to allow him to use the skill because the thing in front of him is clearly evil. The system notifies that the constellations of the pure good alignment agree with the use of the skill. A voice comes out of nowhere and it says to punish evil repeatedly. He is shook to hear that voice and Kim's sword starts burning. Kim wonders if this is what Huiwen felt during those times she fought for him. Kim swings his sword and cuts Shin. Kim thinks that the Time of Judgment was a skill used by the Valkyries during the Holy War. Therefore, the user of this skill receives the protection of the Archangels and never loses as long as the target is evil. Kim cuts her shoulder and a lot of blood starts pouring out. Kim's eyes are red as they start exchanging blows. Kim swings his sword again at her, but she jumps in the air to avoid the slash. Shin calls her monster squad for help, and numerous monsters start running toward Kim. Kim is frustrated and thinks that the more evil she becomes, the stronger Shin gets. He thinks that even if the Time of Judgment is overpowered, he won't be able to do this alone. He shouts at everyone to attack the monsters that are coming through the monster gate while he deals with the catastrophe. Everyone launches their attack. Songa starts running towards Kim and says that she will keep the catastrophe at bay, and Jihai says that she will handle the covering fire. Yu tells Kim that she must have made a deal with the devil to cross over to their world. Kim looks at Yu and wonders if he has used resuscitation. Kim thinks that just as Yu had guessed, Shin's soul had been pawned by a demon, and that demon had given her soul away to the dokkaebi. Kim asks Yu how many more minutes, and he replies 30 and asks what about him. Kim says same here, let's go. Kim and Yu start rushing toward the catastrophe, and the dokkaebi starts laughing and says that it is getting interesting. Now, this is what they call a scenario. There's an intense battle going on, and the system notifies that many constellations are going wild over the action-packed battle, and many constellations can't take their eyes off of their fight. The catastrophe inhales a deep breath and attacks them using the breath of the Beast King. Kim defends himself using his coat, and Yu jumps in the air and attacks the catastrophe. They both start exchanging blows. The catastrophe uses her blast, and Yu uses his sword. Their attacks collide with each other, and there is a huge blast. The catastrophe uses her blast again, and this time, Kim stops the attack using his coat again. He tells the catastrophe to go wild and attack him, while the catastrophe tells him to protect his round and stop her. The system notifies Kim that a few constellations who dislike him have now taken an interest in him. Kim thinks that they can run their mouths all they want until the day he comes to pluck out their tongues. The system notifies that the constellations, the scribe of heaven, and the prisoner of the golden headband are watching him, and the constellations of war are paying attention to his bravery. Everyone is busy fighting the monsters, and Yu slashes the catastrophe. She kicks him in the head, and Kim appears from behind Yu and cuts off her arm. The system notifies Kim that the constellations of war are praising his willpower. Kim is shocked to see that she furiously attacks them using a huge blast. The system notifies Kim that 30 seconds remain until the effects of the bookmark wear off, and everyone is shocked to see the impact of the blast. When the dust settles down, Kim and Yu are fallen on the ground. They are both tired and in pain. The catastrophe tells them that they are no match for her and asks how they will ever stop her. Kim tells her not to worry, that the person who will stop her will be here soon. At the same time, there's a blast, and that someone is standing on a monster. She tells Kim that she is sorry for being late. She says that, basically, she knows what is going on. Her supporting constellations kept chatting away on her way here, and she tells Kim to leave everything to her and take a little rest. Huiwen arrives there with her group and says that she will end this damn scenario for them. Kim looks at Huiwen and thinks that she managed to get here in time and says that she's the last card he has left to play. Huiwen asks Kim what he is so worried about. She runs her hand on the sword and it starts burning. Kim is surprised to see that and thinks that it is Huiwen's supporting constellation. He knows that stigma too well. It is the blistering white flame that punishes the evildoers, and it is known to be on par with the prisoner of the golden headband stigma, and it is one of the most powerful stigmas in the world of TWSA. The system notifies that Huiwen has activated the stigma and flames of Hell Level 1. The catastrophe thinks that this is what Kim has been waiting for. The system notifies that the constellation Scribe of Heaven remains silent, and the constellation Abyssal Black Flame Dragon is displaying hostility towards Huiwen. The catastrophe thinks that Archangel Uriel will be a worthy opponent. The system notifies that the constellation Demonic Judge of Fire is watching the battle with sad eyes. The battle begins, and the catastrophe attacks using her last breath. Huiwen swings her sword and attacks using burning white flames. Both attacks collide, and the buildings are destroyed by the impact. The system notifies that most constellations are excited by the plot he has woven, and he has been gifted 15,000 coins. An intense battle is going on between Huiwen and Shin. Shin jumps in the air and attacks using a kick. The system notifies that the constellation of the Korean Peninsula looks at him with pity, and the constellation's secretive plotter is taking note of the decision he made. Kim is carrying Yu on his shoulder when there is a huge blast, and they see that Huiwen stabs the catastrophe in the stomach, and she falls to her knees. Huiwen is standing tall after the battle. The catastrophe wonders if she is going to die now. The system notifies that the personal skill, the fourth wall, is shaking. Kim thinks that a beast lord usually doesn't die from a wound like that, but she was up against flames of hell that eradicate all evil. The system notifies that level 2 of the omniscient reader's viewpoint is now in continuous effect due to increased immersion. Kim starts walking toward the catastrophe. She tells him that she is glad to come to this round, and she's glad that she did what the captain told her to do. She thinks that it pains her that she has to die like this. Kim tells her now she will be able to die without worries, and some things might even change this time around. The catastrophe tells Kim that she doesn't want to die. The catastrophe asks the dokkaebi if it is okay that she went on a little dramatic rant since she is about to die now and said that they have put on an excellent scenario. The dokkaebi is speechless. The system notifies that a few constellations nod in agreement, and some constellations are voicing their dissatisfaction. Yu comes near her and asks if she is leaving. The catastrophe starts smiling and says she guesses so. Yu tells her that she doesn't hate him enough. Kim wonders why Yu is acting like a total prick up to the end. The catastrophe is thinking that there's something she desperately wants to hear from Yu. Yu says that he wants to ask her something, and she asks what it is, and she wishes that she could hear it even if it is just once. Yu asks Shin who is the demon that helped her cross between worlds. She is surprised to hear his question and starts smiling. She says that to the end, Captain is so predictable and thinks that Yu has not changed at all. Yu asks her to tell him his name. She thinks that is the reason why she looks up to him. Shin asks if he has heard of the Demon of the Horizon. Yu replies that he knows that name. She tells him that he will see him too if he is lucky. Shin tells Yu that he shouldn't try to fight the demon because he will never be able to defeat it, no matter how hard he tries. Shin and Yu look at each other and talk to each other without saying a single thing. She says goodbye, Captain. Yu says that she did well, and she says that she will leave the rest to him. Yu tells her to rest now and promise that he will avenge her. Kim thinks that they don't need to speak the words out loud. They already know each other so well. The catastrophe looks at young Shin and says that she is pretty. She thinks that she's jealous. The system notifies that the demonic judge of fire closes her eyes, and the constellation prisoner of the golden headband lets out a sigh. Kim starts walking towards the catastrophe and sits down in front of her. He places his hand on her shoulder, and suddenly his eyes turn yellow. The catastrophe is surprised to see that and asks if he is sure and says, but why? The catastrophe turns to dust in front of everyone's eyes. Kim clenches his fist and looks up in the sky. Shin has tears in her eyes as she asks Kim if she is indeed dead, and if there isn't a way to change this. Everyone has tears in their eyes. Jihai looks at them and asks why they are all crying. She says that they are going to make her cry too. Yu is staring at the dokkaebi in the air. Bihyong tells the mid-grade dokkaebi to end the scenario. He looks furious, and Bihyong tells him that if he doesn't do it, then Bihyong will do it himself. The system notifies that the fifth main scenario has come to an end, and the rewards are being calculated.